Now, we do want to hear your subjects and what you want us to talk about, and our moderator, amazingly Davey, is dictating the flow right now, and we might need a bit of time to think about this. It's what's your favourite WWE pay-per-view of all time? So I'll give you a minute to think about that. I will think about it on the fly. And now, I must tell you this, that yes, I am a long-term wrestling fan. I've watched since the late 80s, more so the early 90s. I did have some times when I didn't watch. So, you know, a lot of people would say the obvious ones, which I won't even say in case maybe you have them on your mind. But, you know, I may have not been around for those. So, you know, my favourite, I probably might have to mention a few and maybe decide on one then. The first one that springs to mind for me may not have been the most stellar card going, but WrestleMania 23, that was the one with John Cena and Shawn Michaels. I really enjoyed that pay-per-view. Would it be my favourite of all time? Probably not, but I loved seeing Shawn Michaels on top, and in that main event, Mr. WrestleMania, that's where he should always be. But of course, you could also say then that 25 with Shawn Michaels v Undertaker, that would be more recent. If I was to look right back, and I suppose that's how we'll handle it, the new and then the old. So I'd say 23 and 25 were, you know, okay. I know 25 overall was bad, but I'm literally calling them my favourites due to Shawn Michaels' involvement. And if he's on top of the card, I'm always going to be interested. But going back to some of the earlier events, I gotta say Royal Rumble 1991 was one of my favourites. I think that was the Royal Rumble where the Rockers went against the Orient Express, and they opened that one. That was incredible.
Yeah, it goes right back. That was classic stuff, alright. Was it 91, yeah?
I think it was 91. It could easily have been 2, but we'll easily be corrected here.
Yeah, I think looking back, I think the last great Mania was definitely 23 for me as well. Everything since then, bar the, like you said already, again, the Taker Michaels match, and maybe Money in the Bank. I enjoyed that from 24, but 23 was definitely probably the last great Mania for me. Everything since has been a bit. Of recent times, pay-per-views, I really enjoyed that One Night Stand where RVD went over on Cena. I just thought it was a bit revolutionary for WWE to do that, to go into the ECW territory and go a bit old school and put RVD over. And that whole pay-per-view, it was just fun, and it was different. It wasn't like your average No Way Out or your Backlash or, you know, these predictable things that just happen every month. It was fresh and it was exciting, and it really I marked out for that entire pay-per-view. But of all time, I think for me, WrestleMania 6, it was the one I'll always remember. And you probably knew I was going to say that one, but it was yeah, that was my I think favourite of all time. It just always stands out in my head, that Warrior Hogan and Babyface v Babyface with the 2 titles on the line, and you really didn't know which way it was going to go. Maybe we were young, naive, didn't really know the smarts of the business. Maybe the smarts might have known, maybe they didn't know. Kayfabe was a big thing, and dirt sheets were a small thing back then, and now it's quite the opposite. But classic stuff, absolute classic stuff. You can watch that match, even though it was probably an awful match really when you think about it, but just the whole buzz about it, and yeah, I marked out for that big time.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it there when you mentioned it and trying to recall some of those spots. I mean, I would love to see it again, just to see what it was that worked me like probably nothing else has. That was the WrestleMania event where I would have been young, and as yourself, you would have been, and we would have bought it. We wouldn't have had that smart mark information. We wouldn't have had a clue about who was about to go over. Now, I'm not sure whether we would have really bought that wrestling was genuine then. Maybe we were starting to think, well, I don't know if that's quite real or not, but one way or the other, I know I spent many years trying to get away from that thought because it really ruined it. But yeah, Warrior v Hogan, you know, it just, you've got to mark out for those childhood memories, because that's when you believed it. It doesn't matter that you look at it now and say, well, it wasn't the most incredible of matches, it was how it worked you. And I don't think we can ever really be worked like that again. It was the not knowing and the innocence. I mean, the business is busted wide open now, and there's really nothing that goes unexplained, and we know all about the politics and the backstage antics. But yeah, I mean, other ones, I know we can both agree on WrestleMania 17.
Oh yeah, that was probably, and I'd say, yeah, the best Mania is definitely 17 and 6 for me. I'm trying to think of anything else. 23 was really good too. I think those three would be my favourite, hands down.